Councilmember Pennington.
Mayor, I have passed out a written proposal, a substitute amendment, because I feel the proposal made by the administration is not consistent with feeding the homeless population stated in the website, which states that first and foremost, the city wants to ensure homeless individuals have sufficient wholesome food to meet their needs. And I think that the testimony we received in considering that was that there was a lot of food out there that wasn't always properly distributed, it wasn't always properly cleaned up after. And so I don't think that this ordinance really promotes the feeding and the caring of the homeless, which of course is a significant problem in our community. I think that, and I don't know that there's any other way to draft it, it also allows access to trash bins in places that are really public, technically public, like driveways of convenience stores and service stations and grocery stores, where the garbage and the trash cans can be rummaged, and that can create a health hazard for the people using it, and it also tends to have people assemble. I think that businessmen have their driveways and their parking lots open for their people who they want to frequent their business, and not necessarily as a place to feed the homeless. I think there are no other appropriate places for that. And so for those reasons, I would like to reverse the responsibility for designating a trash can as a public facility by allowing those who want to make them public to put a sign that says that they are public. That way the onus is not on the local convenience store operator, who is in many cases is sequestered in his cage, as you well know, because of security reasons, is not likely to go out to ask someone to leave if they're on his site. And it might be a menace to his or her safety if he did that anyway. So I think the responsibility for allowing homeless people in, or whomever might want to be rummaging the trash can, is falsely placed. It ought to be put on the people who actually want that to occur. And there is some expense involved. And so, I mean, if we're talking about the city doing it, I would suggest we be very judicious and very careful about where that's allowed. I know you favor that. So my amendment is to is only to amend to allow the posting of a sign saying that a particular trash can is public. Thank you.
Councilmember, you were under the mistaken belief that this ordinance or this amendment to the ordinance is designed to make it easier for the homeless to take food out of trash cans. It is designed to remove an unnecessary ordinance that in an area that's already covered by trespassing and littering laws. I frankly think anyone who leaves food in a trash can for the homeless is demeaning those homeless people, and is frankly, I'm lost for words that people actually do that and think it's a public service. And so labeling a trash can as a place where you can rummage in freely for food, I think is just patently ridiculous. The ordinance is designed to allow everything from food recovery, if that is desired, to recycling, and to do it in a way that differentiates. Again, I think the entire ordinance is probably problematic, but I believe that this is narrowly tailored to be very clear that a trash receptacle in a public place, you still can't trespass, you still can't litter, but that if you want to fish anything out of that trash can, then you have the opportunity to do so. Councilmember Brown.
Could I something could happen that people would try to pick up trash, and hopefully people wouldn't leave it in on purpose. But the main thrust is, when I go to neighborhood meetings, people are concerned that homeless, and that's a generic term, I know there's a lot of different kind of people in that population, are hanging out on curbs, and they're hanging out at convenience stores. Like the city attorney said yesterday, that a trash can in front of a convenience store or a grocery store is in a public place, and I really think it's public only to attract customers and not to attract people who want to come in and go through the trash can for whatever purpose. And you're putting, and I'm not certain, I don't believe that the trespass laws would apply to that situation because the area is public. It's not like your backyard. So I think it'd be very difficult for the property owner to really police the area. And as I said, in many cases with a convenience store, there's a certain amount of hazard for the operator of the convenience store to come out of his protected cage or her protected cage to run somebody off that he didn't want out in his or her driveway. So I think this is bad public policy. I think it's against the ordinance that we passed already. And I could ask that we could have a vote on this, Mayor.
There are a number of council members in the queue. I think directed to your question whether trespass laws apply. Even if it's a trash can in a place like a convenience store, that's still private property. They still have the ability to post that convenience store in a way that says you can't rummage in the trash, you can't loiter, or any other number of ways.
Well, I think you're putting the onus there on the property owner when it really ought to be the other way.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, you'd be happy to know that I stand in support of your proposed ordinance change. I do not support the proposed amendments on 3 counts: practical, aesthetical, and financial. We can't, be going around labeling our trash in public receptacles. I would like also to state that this matter does not address the cause of the problem, which is the anti-food sharing ordinance, which we, I believe, need to look at again. But thank you.
Councilmember Lassiter.
Mayor, first question is, I believe the Councilmember Pennington made a motion. Is that been seconded?
It's presented in writing, so it is the item.
So it is before us.
Correct.
Mayor, I'm struggling to figure out, number one, the historical reference where this ordinance came from. I understand it's been around for a real long time, so I have to assume that at some point in the city's history there was a reason that the former council decided that they wanted to prohibit people from going through other people's trash. And, but for an unfortunate incident, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion. So the question is what is public trash and what is a public trash receptacle and where does that extend? I'm particularly concerned as a homeowner that when I pull my trash bin out to the side of the road on Tuesday night, I'm putting it in the public right of way. Therefore, is it intended to be have an opportunity to have somebody go through that or not? If it's in this public right of way, I don't believe I can have a trespass claim against anyone who I find in that trash bin. And I'm concerned about private property owners, not only from a homeowners association or a homeowners perspective, but also from our individual business perspective. I would hope that we could, if at a minimum, define what a trash receptacle intended for public use might be as some sort of clarification. Otherwise, I think Councilmember Pennington's motion makes more sense because it, at a minimum, requires me to let other people know that it's okay for them to go through my trash bin. And I would have to take a positive step to do that. Otherwise, it's too confusing in my opinion.
Councilmember, there was an extensive presentation on this, and if you missed the meeting, I will make sure that the city attorney provides you with the backup material.
I read the material.
And the answer to your question about your own trash bin, it is still protected.
I don't see how that's the case, but I'll be glad to hear Mr. Feldman's discussion about that. I read all of that material, and I looked at all the pictures, and the pictures sort of made sense to me, but there's no definition of what those pictures are showing anywhere. So I think that that's a question, and I think it's going to be an enforcement nightmare.
Do you wish to have an answer, or do you want me to move on?
You have an answer, please.
Mr. Feldman.
Frankly, council member, looking at the words public trash and receptacle in the dictionary, it does appear to be a matter of common logic that we're talking about a trash receptacle that's available for public use. The fact that someone may have a trash container that was furnished to them by the city of Houston to put their garbage in and then they put it out on the sidewalk does not make it a public trash receptacle. It happens to be a trash receptacle that's owned by the city. So there clearly is a distinction. What we're talking about is use. Is it available for use by the public? And we thought in the PowerPoint, by giving the clear examples of what that is and what that isn't, that it would make it obvious. I have discussed this with the police department. They don't seem to have any problem in terms of figuring out what is and what is not covered. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do here is decriminalize certain behavior. And I think that this ordinance, with the language that's used, clearly does that. It's not an invitation for anything. It's a question of decriminalization.
I appreciate your answer. I'm just trying to protect our homeowners, protect our private citizens, and put the normal trash out. I'm concerned that if you have, let's say, a gas station or someplace like that, that appears to be private property, and you have a trash receptacle out there, there's some sort of confusion about whether that is intended for public use or not. I would hope that we might be able to define that better, but I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor. I have difficulty with the proposed revised ordinance and the amendment because they both have the word public trash receptacle in it, and there's no definition. And if we were to add a definition, or in the definition section of 39, define what a public trash receptacle is, then I'm okay with the revised ordinance. I have concern with the amendment offered by Councilman Pennington beyond those concerns. But why would we not have in the definition section, there are several defines of the term. The terms are defined. In the definition section of section 39, why would we not simply add a definition in that section for what is a public trash receptacle? That would help with an understanding, as well as from an enforcement standpoint, because is it simply those trash cans, or any can on public property? Is it a can purchased by with public funds or used by the public? I've read through the PowerPoint presentation, saw the photographs and the examples, and I still don't see, without a definition, what is the officers in the field trying to enforce this? What are they going to rely on? If there is as an example, there may be an Exxon station with the trash being out, and a Chase Bank with the trash being out. I think in the PowerPoint we said that one at the Exxon station would be okay, would be exempt, but the Chase Bank would not be, because of the nature of the activity going in that Chase Bank's bin. Now, those both would be those both would be privately owned receptacles on private property, but are they both there for the use of the public or not? Or is it there for the use of their business? I simply don't know. And we don't want officers in the field trying to make those type of decisions. And we certainly don't want businesses having to post signage out on their particular containers across the city of Houston, when we could simply define in the definition section, which already exists, of 39, what a public trash receptacle is. Why would we not do that, Mr. Bell?
Council member, that's why the language was placed in there about or a trash receptacle clearly intended for public use. That's what we're talking about. A trash receptacle clearly intended for public use. The original language when we were drafting this to try and decriminalize certain behavior, the original terminology used was public trash receptacle.
Now, I hate to cut you off, Mr. Bell, but help me understand how a trash receptacle at two locations, how is it the citizen, the homeless person, the police officer is going to determine at 2 a.m. whether that thing is intended for public use or not?
Well, that's why we also use the term public trash receptacle. Frankly, council member, I thought this was commonsensical.
But what is a public trash receptacle?
A trash receptacle that is available for use by the public.
Okay, then that's almost any trash receptacle out there, so
I
I'm just.
disagree.
Okay.
I could not disagree more. If I am putting my garbage out on the street, that is not intended for public use. And I don't know how anybody could logically argue that it is intended for
Mr.
public use.
Phillips, but his example was a Chase Bank parking
Yes.
lot and an Exxon parking lot. Those would both be public trash receptacles if it's in a parking lot.
That's right, because that parking lot is available for the public to use.
But if it were a parking lot reserved exclusively for Chase Bank, it would not be a receptacle available to the general public, because the public wouldn't be there.
Right, well, and if it's a parking lot that's cordoned off for bank employees, sure. I thought the most obvious example is the trash container that's sitting outside of on a strip shopping mall, for example. They're containers all along the walk. They're clearly intended for public use.
So this would allow someone to go to the Chase Bank receptacle and just dig through it?
Well, wait. First of all, just saying Chase receptacle without telling me where it is. Are we talking about
It's on the Chase
in the
parking lot.
front of the bank?
No, I think my point has been made already by this discussion that's going
But I-
on. We need to define what a public trash receptacle is in the definition section. That's the way codified language statutes usually work. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Councilman Rex?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question, Attorney Feldman. The example that you gave, not to harp on it, but I just want to be clear for our constituents as well. If there's a garbage can or a trash can that's on Exxon gas station property, okay? And if that's exempt, I'm sorry, if someone, it don't have to be a homeless person, if we label it homeless, children go into garbage cans and get cans out for money. So there are other issues that are here, just not on homeless people. So I hope we just don't harp on just homeless people that just do this. You have junk dealers that go through trash to look for valuables that I guess they can restore. But my issue is private property. Even though the garbage can at Exxon may be used for public use, for me to come out of my car and throw garbage in, because we do it all the time when we're getting gas. We throw our garbage in, so it's for public use. But the property itself is considered private property, is that correct? By Exxon, would that be correct?
It's private property that is available
I
for public
understand,
use.
I understand
You
that.
could be walking down the street and walk through that Exxon
Yes,
without
sir.
having any intention of buying anything there. You're just
I
walking.
get it, that's not where I'm going, I understand that piece. But if it's against our rule, our policy here at the city of Houston, it's not enforceable, number one, I don't think, because if the police is enforcing the rule and it's considered private property, the city of Houston, the police cannot go on private property to enforce that rule, is that correct? If it's considered private.
Police go on private property all the time and crimes are committed.
Okay, but so we're saying that if someone go on in the receptacle, because,
We're decriminalizing behavior. We're not criminalizing it. It's a crime right now.
okay,
We're trying
well,
to
it's a crime to
decriminalize.
illegally dump on vacant land. It's a crime. But they will not go on that vacant land to look through the garbage to see who possibly have dumped the trash.
Oh, on the contrary, Councilman, we've had environmental crimes units that have done exactly that.
I mean, I understand that, but if there is illegal dumping that's going on a private property, HPD do not go on that private property to go through garbage and take out whatever the letter or anything that's there. They don't go on there because it's considered on private property. If a crime, an active crime is being committed, I understand that they go on there, but for something just like that, they're not gonna go on the private property because we're being told we can't go on private property to remove trash. Like for instance, solid waste, as you said for an example, if the junk is on a private land, they're not gonna go get the scooper, the truck, and take that off the private property because it's considered private and it's not on the public's right of way. But I'm trying to get an understanding to whereas if it's Exxon and it's considered private and they see someone going through the trash, you're telling me that HPD will go on that private property and arrest that individual just for going into that trash?
No, what we're trying to make sure is that they don't. We're decriminalizing that. Right now, it is a crime.
Mr. Feldman, I think y'all
I
are
think
talking
we all
past each other.
confused.
Yes, the police have the ability to do that today, and the police can go on private property and try to figure out who's doing the illegal dumping. Solid waste is not authorized to go remove it, but the police can go and look through the trash and look through anything they want in order to enforce an existing law.
So are we removing this off see, I guess I'm like totally just confused on why we're doing this in the first place. But the other issue is to make sure that our consumers, they understand, because we're targeting, everything has been because a gentleman received a ticket and he apparently, was misplaced and didn't have a home to go to. But this will apply to everybody, not just a person who's deemed homeless, but it will apply to everybody. And so sometimes people give permission, say, okay, you have cans, sir, they can go knock on the door and say, do you mind if I go through your trash and look for cans? Gas stations will give persons permission to go and look through the garbage to get cans out. And because it's done, because they do it, they go into the dumpsters and say, do you mind if I go in your dumpster and look for cans? And they do. So my issue, how do we, to say that someone did not give permission for someone to do that, because, in this time and age, people are collecting cans every day. So I'm just trying to get an understanding of how do we just go and say, okay, police say, we're gonna go arrest that person because they're digging for cans or they're in the garbage can looking for whatever. I'm just trying to just get a clarity and an understanding on where we are and what we're doing as a council.
All right, the item, reset council, the item before us is the amendment to put stickers out, but perhaps, I'm a little surprised that we're still at this level after the council committee meeting. I would not be adverse to a motion to delay the item for 2 weeks, both items. The chair recognizes Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two ordinances. I have to comment sort of generally, but we have two ordinances in place. We have trespassing and littering. And I think we are now at the point where we are trying to come up with a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. And we're really making it extraordinarily onerous, whether it's on individual private property, on public property, whether it's public things you can jump into or public things that are on private property. It is becoming incredibly difficult to make, in my opinion, to make sense of this. Furthermore, we're not talking about armies of people that are coming to invade the city of Houston to jump into our dumpsters. I mean, we're talking about people who are homeless in many instances, who are homeless or hungry or cold, who find the need to go into whatever they can go into to get something. And I don't care if there's a sign on it that says, this is private. You think it's gonna make a difference to me if I'm hungry? If I'm hungry, I don't care if it says private, I don't care what language it says it in. I'm jumping in and I'm getting what I need. I think we have gone over the top. I think this has become to the point that's extraordinarily confusing. I'm not sure what we do about it, whether we just take a 2-week hiatus from it and re-examine it, but I'm at the point now where I think to myself, we have trespassing and we have littering. We don't have enough law enforcement to manage the serious crimes on our streets, so that we're not going to be, in my opinion, we're not going to be having those unfortunate people who are having the need to go to these garbage cans, because that's what they are. I don't care what title you put on them. We're not going to have enough law enforcement to even deal with that. I think our trespassing and littering are sufficient, and I think we should take a pause, and I'll phrase it whatever way you want, but I think it's gotten out of